After our family get-together, I checked my account, and it was empty. My brother-in-law scoffed, "We needed it more than you." Trembling, I pulled something from my bag and said, "Then you won't mind what comes next." A loud bang rocked the house. The door burst open, and Seth leaned against the fridge with a beer in hand, that half-smile plastered on his face. He said, "Relax, we needed it more than you." I blinked. My thumb hovered over the refresh button on my banking app. I'd already pressed it 3 times. It kept showing the same number, $7. That couldn't be right. Yesterday, I had over $72 on makeup, $900 on takeout, $2,300 to pay off your car loan, Seth. Didn't think I'd check? Seth leaned forward, his face darkening. "You went through our accounts?" "Oh, I did more than that." I flipped open my laptop. The screen glowed with a neat, colorful breakdown. Every charge, every transfer, traceable. I compiled every transaction. I filed a fraud report, and guess what they told me? Sarah's eyes widened. "You didn't." "I did. I called the police." "You called the cops," she shrieked. I turned to Mom. "Still think this is just a family matter? This is insane." Dad exclaimed, "You're willing to put your own sister in jail? You put yourselves there." Then came the knock. 3 loud, heavy raps against the door. Sarah went white. Seth stood up too quickly. Mom gasped and recoiled. Dad froze. "Open up." "Financial Crimes Unit." More knocking. Seth turned to me, his voice low. "Mason, tell me you're not serious." I opened the door. 3 officers walked in, their jackets marked with black letters. One held a folder, another a tablet. The third surveyed the room. "Mason Carver?" "Yes. Thank you for your cooperation. We'll take it from here." Mom covered her mouth. Sarah slumped into a chair like her legs had given way. Seth stood there, stunned. One of the officers addressed them. "You are listed as persons of interest in an open case of financial fraud and identity theft." "Identity theft?" Mom whimpered. "Family ties don't make illegal activity legal, ma'am," the officer said without blinking. "We didn't steal anything." Sarah yelled. "We were entitled. He always helped." "Thinking you're entitled to someone's money doesn't make it yours," another officer said calmly. "Please remain seated." I just stood back and watched. For the first time in my life, they didn't talk over me, they didn't scoff, they didn't laugh. Mom turned to me, her voice shaky, her eyes filling. "Mason, please, we didn't mean to hurt you. We were desperate. You've always been the strong one. You're the only one we could rely on." I looked her directly in the eye. "You don't get to cry now." She covered her mouth and sobbed. Sarah tried to say something, but words wouldn't come. Seth looked ready to bolt, but remained under the officer's gazes. "Want to talk about what family is?" I said, stepping forward. "It's trust, respect, asking instead of assuming, not stealing, not laughing while you bleed me dry." They said nothing. I grabbed my bag from the floor and addressed the lead officer. "I'll be outside." This time, they didn't stop me. I walked out of the house, silent. Nobody chased me. Nobody yelled my name. For once, there was no guilt, no drama. No Sarah screeching after me with her usual, "How could you?" Just the cool night air and the sound of crunching tires as the investigators took them out, one by one. I didn't stay to watch. That night, I drove without a destination, passing closed coffee shops and bright gas stations. My phone vibrated incessantly on the passenger seat. I didn't answer any calls. I didn't want to hear apologies disguised as excuses. By midnight, I ended up parked in front of the one place I'd always felt safe, my grandmother's old house. She'd passed a few years ago, but I still had the key. She used to tell me, "If they ever betray you, Mason, come here. The door will always be open for you." And that night it was. I slept for 11 hours straight, no texts, no guilt, no tension crushing my chest like it always did when I was around my family. When I woke up, I made coffee in a chipped mug and stood by the window, watching the sun rise slowly over the fence. She used to tend the garden here. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. But the quiet didn't last. The first email arrived that afternoon from Dad. "This has gone too far. You've humiliated the entire family. What happened to loyalty?" I didn't reply. Then Sarah texted, "I hope you're happy. They're freezing my accounts. Seth is being investigated at work. You ruined our lives over a couple of payments." A couple? Try tens of thousands of dollars. Try 5 years of silent sacrifice. Then came Mom, with a voicemail, her soft voice cracking. "You didn't have to do it this way. We could have handled it like a family. Mason, honey, please. They're threatening us with charges. They said we could lose the house." I replayed that line in my head. We could lose the house. And suddenly, I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't vengeful. I just didn't care because I'd already lost a home years ago when they decided I was worth more as a bank account than a son. 2 days passed, then a text popped up from someone I didn't expect. Seth. My brother-in-law. We weren't close. Maybe exchanged 5 words on birthdays. But his text was simple. "Just so you know, Sarah's trying to pin it on you. Saying you knew and approved the money transfers. There's a lawyer involved. Watch your back." I almost laughed. Even now, even with everything falling apart, she was still trying to manipulate the situation. That night, I called my lawyer. "Send everything," I said. "Don't just press charges. I want a restraining order, too." But not all the messages were hostile. A week later, I received a short email from Kelly, Seth's sister. "I know we haven't spoken in years, but I just wanted to say you were right about everything. About how they treat you, about how toxic it's gotten. I used to think you were cold, now I think you were brave." I stared at her message for a long time. Brave. Nobody in my family had ever called me that before. One morning, my phone rang again. Unknown number. I almost declined the call, but something told me to answer. "Mason." The voice was small and hoarse. It was Sarah. I said nothing. She kept talking. "Look, I know I messed up, okay? I went too far. I didn't think it would end like this. Seth's been suspended. Mom won't stop crying. Dad won't even talk to me. And you," she paused. "You always had the power to ruin everything, and you finally did it." I didn't speak for a moment, then I said coldly I didn't ruin anything. "I just stopped letting you walk all over me." Silence. "Then you can stop it now. Drop the charges, please. I'll do anything. Just make it stop." I almost felt something. Almost. But then I remembered what she'd said the night of the get-together. "We needed it more than you." I smiled grimly. "No," I said. "You made this mess. Live in it." And I hung up. That night, I cooked myself dinner in peace. I listened to my favorite album from college. I sat on the porch with a mug of coffee and watched the world go by. And for the first time since I was a teenager, nobody asked me for money. Nobody guilt-tripped me. Nobody made me feel like I was only worth something if I was giving something away. I wasn't their wallet anymore. I was just me. And that was enough. I'm not your bank. I'm not your backup plan. I'm done. It's strange how quiet peace is. Nobody tells you to imagine it will be like fireworks or loud music or some grand celebration. For me, peace sounded like nobody asking me for money, nobody calling me selfish, nobody sending long text messages with "since you're the only one who is fine," just silence. Glorious, uninterrupted silence. It's been 3 months since the night everything exploded. 3 months since the investigation began, since my family stared at me in shock as officers walked through their front door, and reality finally pierced through years of delusion. They say you can't choose your family. Maybe that's true. But you can choose how much of yourself you're willing to lose trying to keep them happy. And I didn't want to lose any more. The fallout came swiftly. Sarah and Seth tried damage control first. A lawyer emailed mine, offering to settle privately. No apology, no taking responsibility, just damage control. I told my lawyer, let it burn. A week later, Mom sent a 10-page letter. Her handwriting was still neat, but shaky in places. She wrote about how things got out of hand, how they never meant to hurt me, how she hoped I could see the bigger picture. We always assumed you'd be there, she wrote. That's what good sons do. That line stayed with me because it said everything. Not we were wrong or you didn't deserve that. Just you were supposed to stay quiet and keep giving. I didn't reply. I didn't call. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty about it. I moved. New apartment, new state, no surprise visits from relatives, no unexpected drop-ins from Sarah. I even changed my number. My boss, noticing how focused I'd become, offered me a promotion. I accepted it. It's funny how much better you perform at work when you're not secretly balancing your sister's car payments and your mother's overdue utility bills behind the scenes. I sleep better now. How much better? I breathe better because I'm no longer carrying 4 people on my back who refuse to even say thank you. Then, one morning, a letter arrived with no return address. Inside, a check for $200 and a handwritten note. I left. You were right. I was scared, but watching what you did gave me the courage to walk away too. This is for everything you paid for. Ellie. The tablet, the rent, the clothes. I know she never thanked you, but I do. Thank you for being the example I needed. Kelly. I read the note twice, then I cried. Not from sadness, not from pain, but because for the first time, someone in that family saw me not as a wallet, not as a scapegoat, but as a person. Sometimes people ask me, do you regret it? And the answer is simple, no. I regret waiting so long. I regret every sleepless night, every canceled vacation, every tight budget I lived under while they dined out, shopped, and posted about #GratefulFamilyVibes on Instagram. I regret making myself small so they could feel big. I regret all the times I stayed silent when I should have said, you're crossing a line. But do I regret standing my ground and burning it all down? Never. My therapist once asked me, why did it take you so long to say no? And I answered, because I thought saying no meant I didn't love them. She nodded and said, saying no is how you teach people to love you back. I've never forgotten that. A few days ago, I ran into someone from high school. He said, hey, I saw what happened with your family. Crazy. I expected judgment or pity. But instead, he grinned and added, good for you. Most people never manage to get out. I thanked him and walked away, feeling a little taller. Sarah and Seth are still under investigation. Last I heard, Seth lost his job. Sarah's bank account is frozen. Mom is trying to refinance the house, and Dad apparently blames outside influences for destroying the family. They still don't get it. I didn't destroy anything. I just stopped pretending the pieces were still whole. Sometimes I have flashbacks of that night. The table. Sarah laughing while she went through my account. Seth smirking like it was a joke. Mom downplaying it. You don't need that money, she'd said. And now they know the truth. That money wasn't just money. It was my life. My time. My sanity. My boundaries. And they crossed them for years like they meant nothing. Now they're paying the price. I don't celebrate their downfall. But I do celebrate surviving it. I celebrate walking away. I celebrate not going back, even when the silence felt lonely, even when the guilt whispered in my ear like it used to. Because that silence is freedom. So, if you're reading this and you've been the strong one, the responsible one, the good son or good daughter who's expected to pay up and never say a word, let me tell you what I wish someone had told me. You don't have to burn yourself to keep others warm. You have a right to stop. You have a right to leave. And when you do, you don't lose a family. You find yourself.